Well, here we are today, back on to the intersection. I am particularly excited about this interview today because Claude has been such a just interesting presence for me over the past few months, and a lot of other people that I ended up booking for this podcast through his events just by them being there. I'm here today with Claude, in my opinion, pioneer of a new, improved era of tech events in Chicago. And there's so much more that I don't want to spoil yet in this intro. But I would bet my money in the next 10 years, Claude is going to be very much up. So, Claude, welcome to the intersection.
Nonstop Matt. Thank you.
To start this off, I'm really curious about what your stage of your career was like. Because as far as the internet is concerned, it seems like you just sent a bunch of emails to like VCs and top CEOs in Chicago, and then I guess you had a lot of meetings and suddenly you are off to the races, but I'm sure it's not as simple as that.
Yeah, like most things, they're always more complex the closer you get to them. I like in high school, I started to really get into tech. And so it was actually after I watched a documentary about Mark Cuban. It was called Beyond the Glow with Mark Cuban. So after I watched that, I realized like, man, like it would be dope to like be in tech someday, just to build stuff. But I've always like enjoyed building things. Like 2009, 2008, I was on Haiti's national robotics team. So I was in high school? That was like 5th or 4th grade, I think.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was always interested in technology and how things work. I also very much into planes. Like I have an app on my phone that tells me like which plane is flying over me. But when we came here from Haiti, like, I don't know, like we didn't have any money, and after learning about his story, I was like, man, like, he went from someone who's like, living like 7 people in an apartment for him to to do all the things that he's done. I'm like, the guy really inspired by the documentary. But I realized also like, in order to get plugged in, you have to know people, and I did not know anyone. It's not like, my parents are from here or I have some like rich uncles that can like connect me to people. So the next best thing is just like look up who are the top CEOs and VCs in Chicago and just cold email all of them to say, hey, like give me a few minutes of your time. And a lot of them did. And so
what do you think it was about the email?
I think they were very personable. I also think a lot of them were really bad. Now looking back, but at the same time, like I think on the other end of the reader, it's like, oh, like you can't really say no to like a 14, 15-year-old kid like emailing you, like taking like the initiative, so young. Yeah, I think it's also people just enjoy a good story and when things are personable, and I think generally people always want to help people, especially here in Chicago. So I think those are the factors I would attribute it to.
14-year-olds, email people while you have the chance.
Yeah.
Claude is right.
Or go play outside and have a life.
You said something a few moments ago about Mark Cuban and this idea of like rags to riches and this classic story of coming from nothing to being great. And not just Mark Cuban, but during your Spotify Wrapped, it could show you who your favorite artist was. And it may not be a surprise to a lot of people who know Claude that his number one artist was Meek Mill. But not only that, what surprised me was that you're in something like the 0.00001% of Meek Mill listeners or something. And you've said in other interviews that what inspires you the most about Meek Mill, like a lot of other people in music, is this story of coming from nothing to becoming great.
Yeah, No, I'm a big fan of Meek, obviously. So I started listening to Meek like mixtape Meek, like Dream Chasers, Flamers, and then like after he dropped Dreams and Nightmares album in 2012, the intro just like changed it all for me. Kind of like the whole way it started to the middle, how it ended. And I think with Meek, like, you can see how he's matured over the years. I think his dad, like, passed when he was 5. And, he talked about in his song Traumatized, like, he became, like, the man of the house when he was, like, 5 years old. To go see someone go from that to freestyle in the streets. Like, you can still see the YouTube videos of him freestyling in the streets in like 2004, 2005, homeless. But like, he was still talking about, like, you can see, like, he was talking about the things that he's doing now, like way back then. Like, he believed in himself, like way back then when nothing like was happening in his life that resembled that, to now see where he is now, to courtside at the Sixers games, performing at the NBA All-Star game, the World Series, and the work that he's doing with Reform, with Jay-Z, Michael Rubin, and just like, and now it's like, flying private jets and wearing like Patek Philippe's,
like
and
the classic story
and
of
Richard
hip-hop.
Millie's. Like, he's just such a great story, but also like an amazing artist. Like, so versatile. Like, he can really put out like really good club hits, but also he can really put out really good like lyrical, deep music. And it's just hard to find artists that can fit in so many different molds. And so yeah, he's always my top artist every year. My top 5 songs are always most likely gonna be Meek Mill. Went to his concert last year. The Dreams and Nightmares 10-year anniversary in Philly. Like, top 5 greatest moments of my life for sure.
Well, if you meet him / when you meet him,
Yeah.
What do you want to talk about?
Oh man, talk about his future, like where he wants to go, musically, but also like just like personally, like where does he see his future going, and what he's want to be involved in, and just like, yeah, the dream would be like a day in a life with Meek Mill, and just like go through his whole life in a day. But yeah, I think that those are generally what we talk about.
You really enjoy going to nice restaurants and taking a picture of the food.
Man, you really did your research.
No, this one, all I had to do was observe you naturally over time. You like. So what is it about the experience, and especially going solo? You like to just go by yourself, enjoy the meal, be like, yo, this was a good spot. And what are some of your favorite spots in Chicago to go eat?
Wow. No, so I enjoy a good meal. Well, the thing is, I don't cook. So that's one thing. And so I eat out for every meal. So I always gotta find, and I don't want to eat the same thing every day. So I just gotta find a variety of places to eat. And I generally enjoy good food. And I enjoy going solo. Like, one, I'm very single. So like so it's not like I have a partner. It's not like I have a girlfriend to go with. I just enjoy my own company. Like, I don't think I need like another person or need a group to go and treat myself to a nice meal. Just like, I enjoy good food. And I'd say my top favorite places, it all depends. Like, Cuisine Creole, which is like a Haitian restaurant. So that's gotta be my favorite.
Where is that?
It's in Rogers Park. But when I'm downtown, like RPM, Lyra, Gibson's, spend a lot of time at Soho House these days.
You do?
Nobu. It just depends what I'm feeling that night.
You also do other things solo just for the joy of it, like traveling.
Travel, I do. Yeah, I think what I enjoy the most about, I've always wanted to like travel and like see like nice places. We just like we didn't have money as a kid to do that. So that's one thing. That's one thing. But now I do. So I try to indulge. I think what I enjoy about it is that it allows me to really like turn off when it comes to work. And just like your typical everyday responsibilities. Like, we all live in a society where there's a lot of expectations that are set on us every day and expectations on others. It's really the only time I get to have 7 to 10 days where I wake up and I do whatever I want. Truly. I can go out all night if I want to. I can stay in my hotel all day if I want to. Like, there's no negotiating. There's no nothing. I can do whatever I want. So I think that's part of the reason. I think the other reason why I go so far, like I go to Europe or places that are just really far, is because like when everyone here is awake, I'm sleeping, and when I'm awake, everyone's back home is sleeping. So it just allows me to just be away, literally and figuratively, from everything.
That's dope. It's like, it's just like this block of time that you just do literally whatever you want. No
whatever I want.
Expectations.
Yeah.
Your fireside chats and Shy Tech in real life, and of course Chicago Tech Week one of the coolest events, maybe the coolest event in the city that I've been to. You've managed to do something that I've hoped for so long, which is bringing together people from adjacent industries that still equally complement the technology scene, whether it's music or fashion or something else. And so I'm really curious about your thought process as to why, like, you decided to move in that direction and where you think that's headed, if anywhere. Because you've said also you don't really have a major master plan or anything.
Yeah, no, not with that. Like I've always I figured like as I've ascended in the space here, and there's still like a lot of work to do, and still a lot more to do. But kind of where I'm at now, I've gotten to know a lot of people, and I just like it comes to me. There are things that just comes to you naturally. Like for me, it's like gathering people and just bringing people together. I just love doing that. It doesn't feel like work. So. Fireside Nights was, the kind of the series where I just like, I enjoy having really good conversations with people. I invite some of the top CEOs and investors and people that are like making big moves in Chicago just to like chat for like this for like an hour in front of an audience. So far I've had some really good people like the governor, CEOs of Jellyvision, Cameo, kind of like name your top CEO have probably been on there, or I'm planning on having them on there. So I just enjoy doing that, and people enjoy coming to them. So as long as that's happening, I'll continue to do it. And then Tech Chicago Week, last year, it's kind of the first year of doing that, just bringing not only everything that makes Chicago great as a tech ecosystem, but also what makes Chicago great as a city, and I'm bringing those together. Not only tech people involved, but also people of culture, like having Pusha-T performing at the last party. Yeah, just bringing all these worlds together. I think I find it to be a lot of fun.
I want to hear your opinion on the overlap of business and entrepreneurship within the political and government kind of structure, because you've rubbed a lot of shoulders and become fairly close with key political figures, like whether it's J.B. Pritzker or Penny Pritzker being connected to P33, or the deputy mayor, Samir, that you're friends with. And so obviously you've seen value in being close with these people, not obviously also because of who they are as people. Yeah. But what do you think that relationship is between tech and business and politics?
Yeah, I think we just all have to work together towards a common goal, and like whatever other people's goals are, I just know what I'm passionate about. Like what I'm passionate about is, are we building the most inclusive tech ecosystem in the world, and are we building the most and are we enabling the most ambitious people to build here? And I think that mission aligns with said political figures that are in our city, and they're all great people, and they want what's best for us. So a lot of time I spend time with these people, not so much for the work, but also just like personally getting to know them. And but yeah, I think so for me, that's my goal, and whatever I can do to help advise or help push that that goal, whether it's through political figures or business leaders and other operators, I'm happy to do that.
Dope. I like that. It's just about like making a better city, making a better city. That's dope. So you're a big fan of sports. Yes. But you seem to despise referees.
Oh man!
What is
you
it?
You really did your research. My goodness.
What?
Yeah.
What is it about referees that bothers you?
Okay, I should say I hate the NBA refs. NBA refs are the dumbest people that on earth. Really, they're just so soft and so inconsistent and so dramatic, overreact. I remember Jason Tatum from the Celtics. He missed a shot or something, and he clapped his hand in frustration. And then the ref seriously gave him a tech for that. And it's like, what are you thinking? What are you doing? Like, what a loser. So I hate those guys. I hate NBA refs. I watch a lot of soccer. With soccer, it's different. I think, like, soccer, there's the VAR now where, like, things seems to be a bit more more objective. But even then, sometimes there are some dumb calls that are made, but I think it's worse in the NBA. Yeah, far worse in the NBA. Yeah, I hate NBA refs.
You've said before you believe traditional networking is broken and too transactional. I also believe traditional networking is way too transactional. So tell us what you mean by this.
I've always believed, like, my little saying is like getting to know people for who they are, not what they're getting paid to be, right? So I'm currently the director of Platform at P33, and I'm getting paid to do that job. But I may not be at P33 for the rest of my life, but I'm definitely gonna be Claude for the rest of my life, right? So it's like, who do you want to get to know? Do you want to get to know me, the director of platform, or me, the person? And I think usually at these networking events and things like that, the people that view it from a transactional standpoint tend to focus too much on your title and your job and less about what makes you fully human. So I'm always a big fan of, like, I rarely ask people what they do for work when I just meet them. I typically ask, like, how do you spend your time? And work will most likely come up because, like, that's where you spend 90% of your waking hours. But you get to hear a lot more interesting things than just the work that you do. So I think, like, generally that's how it's broken. But and that's the culture, like, I usually bring to my events too, where I think whenever you go to whatever I'm hosting, hopefully it doesn't feel like a traditional networking event. Even though I'm sure networking is happening, but it just doesn't feel like it.
That's a really cool tidbit you said a few moments ago. Instead of asking people what do they do, ask them how they spend their time.
Yeah.
That's really dope. I love that. Being who you are, just like intimately connected to the tech ecosystem and stuff like that, what do you think needs to happen for the city's overall ecosystem when it comes to events, opportunities, communities? How can we elevate ourselves?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that we keep saying is just early capital. So, like, whenever someone has an idea, and they would just want to take 12 to 18 months to test it out to see if it holds, like, if it has legs, being able to raise like $500,000 maybe, without traction, without a product. I think it's still tough in Chicago if you're not super well networked and super well plugged and super well known. I think very few people can do it. But generally speaking, that's something that's tough to do in Chicago. So early capital, so getting more people to write angel checks, I think is important. I think we have to do a better job at, like, marketing the city. I think there's a lot of negative news that comes out of Chicago.
Yeah, for sure.
Some of them merited, some of them are not. But all cities are going through the pains of crimes right now, or major cities. So, but just like, yes, that's happening and that's terrible, and we need to do something about it. But also, like, can't we also talk about the advantages of being here? So I think, like, just doing a better job at marketing our city. Yeah,
I agree. What else? You also feel like there's an epidemic of adults who don't know how to communicate concisely and clearly. What is Claude's definition of communicating clearly, and then why don't you think people are up to par with this?
Yeah, I think there was, like, an article of and this is real. There's this lady who started this service that she gets paid like $400 an hour or something like that, or $400 per day. There's a $400 that's involved. I think it's per day or per hour. Either way, that's quite a bit of money to help our generation, who are adults now, talk on the phone, because they don't know how to talk on the phone, because they feel overwhelmed by talking on the phone. And
like young adults?
No, like grown adults, like people over 18, like without our Gen Zers. So I think, like, that shows, like, how in the trenches we are when it comes to people that not being able to communicate. Yeah, I'm just a very straightforward upfront person, just naturally. So I think, like, in our work, we have to kind of do this personal user manual. Talk about, like, how you work. I think, like, literally my top line is, like, if I'm doing something wrong, let me know immediately, because there's 99% chance I'm not doing it on purpose, and I'm not a mind reader. No, I don't want to be one. So what you're feeling, tell me.
That's very true.
I don't want to figure it out. Like, communicate that. Like use actual words. So whether it's professional, whether it's personal, I think people that are not able to communicate clearly and concisely and thoughtfully, like, I just think that's just a very stressful way to live your life. So, and I don't think a lot of adults in the U.S. are good at that currently.
That's interesting, because then it makes your life in general a lot more stressful.
A lot more stressful.
Figure out how to navigate.
Right, because it makes everyone else stressed out. It also makes you stressed out, because if you don't communicate how you're feeling, it just piles up, right? And then you end up doing something crazy. So so just like learn how to use words, I think is probably the lesson here.
You say that you don't code switch for anyone.
I don't.
And that I love this quote: "If there's not a predefined dress code for an event I'm invited to, I'm wearing whatever the fuck I want."
Right.
And I love that. I wish people would be more open and expressive with themselves like that. What do you think? How do you feel about this whole idea of having to feel like you have to be a certain way for other people?
Yeah. Life is just a lot tougher, I think, when you have to play a role. We have to act as someone that you're not. And it's very comfortable when you're living in your skin. And I've learned that it's just not worth it. So whether it's like the way I talk or things I'm interested in or my style of clothing that I choose, like, I don't care I'm meeting, a king or a queen or whatever. If there's no predefined dress code for the event, like, I'm gonna wear whatever I want. If there's a predefined dress code, then I'll abide to that. If I'm coming, I'll abide to that. But if none, there's because who am I trying to impress? Like, I'm comfortable with myself, So it's like, so I think it's a level of mindset that that I've reached where it's like I'm comfortable with myself. I'm confident in myself. So there's really like no one that I need to impress with my with my clothing.
I don't know much about your early story of growing up in Haiti. Do you want to tell people about all that?
Let's see, where do I start? Like, from 1997 when I was born. Yeah, no. I mean, whenever I think about it, it was a good time. Played a lot of soccer, spent a lot of time with my friends. At school, like playing sports, get involved with robotics. Yeah, just like we lived near a mountain, so like just like spent a lot of time like around trees and like kind of away from the city, but also like going to the beach a lot because like it's Haiti, it's an island, so yeah, so it's very warm and fuzzy. I would say. I've
seen you post little videos and stuff of people in Haiti celebrating during the Argentina win, and so do you ever connect with your like friends or family from Haiti about stuff like sports?
No, 100%. Like, so the Brazil-Argentina rivalry is a big thing in Haiti. It's like ever since you're a kid, you choose which side you're on. Are you going to be on Brazil side or the Argentina side? And I've always been on the Argentina side. My brother is Brazil. My parents are both Argentina. It's weird because like I've never been to Argentina. I don't personally know anyone from Argentina, but I'm emotionally connected with the team. Like I was quite distraught like during that final when France equalized, but we ended up winning. So like so for us, like the Argentina fans, like we haven't had a trophy in like 30 something years, and like over the past 2 years we've gotten them all almost, like Copa America, World Cup. Another one that I forgot, but so we just like, and also it's a team that's faced disappointments after disappointments after disappointments. Getting knocked out in 2006, getting knocked out in 2010, making it to a final in 2014, then got knocked out by Germany. It's just like a lot of disappointments. So it was good to finally get a big win. See Messi finally win that World Cup trophy. No, it was a great day. It was a great day.
You are director of Platform at P33.
Yeah.
Do you mind talking about what you do at P33?
Yeah.
Or
no, I don't mind. It's just that sometimes I'm not too sure what I do.
Why is that?
It's like different every day.
Mm.
But I think like the core of my work is around like bringing a lot of culture to the tech Chicago scene, like the Chicago tech scene, whether it's events that we're doing, just thinking about things differently from my perspective. And also like my big focus, like my main thing is Tech Chicago Week. So making sure Tech Chicago Week is the greatest thing that's ever happened in the city when it comes to tech events. But then also I think a part of my job is also like creating network effects. So whatever I can do to connect more founders to investors, or investors to more founders, and founders to more talents to more founders, and things like that. Just thinking through those every day, I think is part of the gig too.
What do you think is the art of making great network effects?
It's being able to understand people. Just know like this person will click very well. And I don't know, like, because like I've never learned it. No one's ever taught me it. You just kind of have to. It's kind of this natural instinct of like knowing person X will click very well with person Y, and then ask person Y if they'd be willing to accept marriage with person X and see what happens. But I think to the core of it is just like understand people and what makes them tick. But I'm not too sure. Like it's kind of one of those
like
things,
an intuitive thing.
Yeah, very intuitive. Yeah, can't really explain it.
My next question was actually going to be about Tech Chicago Week. Is it Chicago Tech Week or Tech Chicago Week?
It's Tech Chicago Week.
Tech Chicago Week. So, is there anything you can say about Tech Chicago Week 2023, or is that all TBD? And how can we hype it up for people? Because I want people to get hyped for this thing. I want people to come. I want people to invite their friends.
I'll say this. Like, there's a couple things that I can say. There's going to be, instead of one musical performance, there's going to be 2 different nights of 2 musical performances. And there's going to be an R&B night, and there's going to be a rap night.
Okay. Hey, that's raw.
I can't say the names that we're looking at yet. But also there's going to be one, and also there's going to be maybe a couple speakers that are like world renowned. Can't say again like which ones that we're looking at yet, but when I say world renowned, I'm not joking. Like anyone in the world will know who these people are. So just stay tuned.
Just stay tuned. One time you got pretty grilled on Twitter for saying a velvet taco was the best.
Look, I get grilled on Twitter almost every day. So, but that one was particularly special. Look, listen. So velvet taco it's quick. Usually you go to a taco place, it takes forever for the taco to arrive. And it's really good taco, but like I don't have that much time sometimes, right? But velvet, it's kind of like the Chipotle-ification of tacos, right? It's pretty good tacos, and it's quick when you get it, and it's nice vibe. So just like put all these factors together. It's like if you want a quick, reliable place with good vibes to grab a taco, it's Velvet Taco. That was my opinion. Now a lot of people disagreed, and they're entitled to that opinion too. But generally, that's the point I was trying to make. But yes, it was not a great day. Everyone came after me. I still stand by it, by the way. But
you still stand by it?
I still do.
Have you gone to other taco places?
I've not. My friends are actually doing a taco tour. My friends decided to do a taco tour next month. I think Saturday, February 5th. So I think I'm going to go to that and see and check out other taco places.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Going off this topic.
Yep.
How do you feel about the $80 brunch for one at Soho?
You're hilarious, man. Listen, all right. So here's the backstory. So I don't know. Okay, so I went to church, and after church, I'm like, all right, I want to eat somewhere, right? Because it was like a late service. I think I went to like the noon one. I'm like, oh, I'm kind of hungry. Let me go someplace. I was like, you know what? Let me go to Soho. And that was like my first time at Soho on a Sunday. And so I got there, and I saw like this nice spread of brunch stuff, like pancakes, eggs, croissant, like desserts, like it was a nice spread. And I saw everyone like just going up and just like grabbing, right? And then it's like, oh wow. So in my head, I thought it was free. I was like, oh, this must be some kind of like Sunday Sunday treat. Sunday treat to the members, right? So I went around, grabbed my food, and and I sat down and I finished eating, and the server came along. He's like, "Oh, are we ready for the check?" I'm like, "Wait, what check? I thought it was free." Now, nothing said it was free, but also nothing said it was paid either, right? And I looked at the check and I was like, it was $72, and then like if and then like with tax and everything else, it was like $80 something total. I was like, that's a racket. Like, there's no way like a brunch should be $80. But that's the backstory. Initially, I honestly thought it was free, but it just but there's nothing I can do about that. Just drop $80 on brunch.
Ninja courtesy brunch for $80.
Yeah.
Sad story.
Yeah.
Tell us about being a Bulls fan, and like, you like to joke you pay rent for the United Center because you're.
No, I spent too much money at the United Center this season. No, like I love the Bulls. Like they do a really good job at like the fan experience. And also like I've loved them ever since I moved here. Like because I moved here around the D Rose time, like D Rose, Joakim Noah. Because I moved here around like 2011, 2012. So the Bulls were actually sort of good back then. I remember like always wanting to go to the games. Because the following day, whenever there's like a home game, the following day you'd have like classmates saying, like, "Oh man, like I went to a game last night with my parents or whatever," and like it was so much fun. But for us, like. Even driving to United Center and paying parking and like even being in the nosebleeds would have been like a luxury back then. So now that I can go, I'm just like let me enjoy a few games. It's not a cheap hobby, but it's a lot of fun. It's kind of like a nice way that I relax when there's a cool and good. So I try to go maybe like once a week.
I'm sure it makes you feel more like connected to the team and the city.
100%. Yeah. I'm going there on Saturday actually to see the Jazz. So.
There you go. Yeah. Well, apparently you hated school just like me.
I did.
Well, at what point did you start disliking school? Because for me, it was very, very early.
Yeah, no, for me it was early too. I think so. Like I was a very bad student. Like I was a very mediocre student. I think if you look at my grades, like back in like middle school or high school, like you'd be like that guy would be like a complete bum by now, which in some regards it's true.
What? What are you talking about?
But I think honestly, like when I was in Haiti, I had to redo the 5th grade, and I think it was at that point I realized, like, whoa, there's this institution that has that much power over my life. Because you feel like almost like they're holding you back an age behind, right? There's this institution that has that much power over my life. Like, that's messed up. And so I think like my distaste of it started back then, and kind of it's kind of my villain story, I guess. But yeah, I think that was the point where I was like, and then after I moved here, like. I didn't speak English like 10 years ago.
Really? Wow.
10, 11 years ago, so I had to learn it. So just getting used to a new system, a new language. I just never really got good at it, so, yeah.
I guess to wrap this up, Claude, tell us what's next for Claude, and what are you aspiring for? Or you could shout out other cool people working on cool stuff in the city or cool events. You could hype up Tech Chicago Week.
Tech Chicago Week is the next thing for me. So like the next immediate thing. So I just want to make sure that's the in my mind, I want to make it the greatest tech week in any city and anywhere in the world ever. So that's gonna take a lot of work to do that, pull that off in 6 months, 6-7 months. So yeah,
that's really the goal, right? This is not just a marketing quote. Like,
no,
that's the
goal.
Actual goal.
Yeah, I'm not joking. Like that's the goal. Like I want to make it the greatest thing ever. The greatest tech week ever.
I'm looking forward to it.
So I think that's one. I mean, other cool people like you know, my Chi-Tech RL crew, Eric, Tony, Abinaya, you know, Landon is always doing dope things. Like, you know, Landon is my brother around here. And, you know, just there's great people doing great things around here. So, so shout out to all of them.
Shout out to all of them. Those are all great. Shout out to the Chi-Tech IRL crew, and definitely shout out Landon, who was on.
For sure.
And, yeah, thank you so much for
my
being
guy,
here today.
This is great. You're really nonstop Matt.